Hello and welcome to Wait, It Gets Better, the improvisational storytelling podcast, where every week we serenade you with stories. I'm, of course, Levi.
I'm Reed.
And I'm Seth.
And we are here to review a story. This isn't a storytelling week. This is a review week. It's the boring one without the cool conclusions. Thank you, everyone, for arriving. So we are reviewing The Great Reset, which is what we decided to call the sequel to The Hero from the Past. Sound good?
Yep.
Sounds good.
Great. First off, what is your guys' score, 1 to 10? Let's hear it. 1 being the worst story you've ever read in your life, and 10 being basically next to Lord of the Rings.
I've got 5 on it. I'm kind of medium about it. I think there was some really good parts. I think we're improving on this being the sequel to the previous. In my opinion, we improved slightly.
Yeah, I would say so as well.
Yeah.
I think this is closer to 8 for me, only because of the sad ending, which sounds mean to say, but it was so brilliant bringing in the third personality that Chase was kind of dealing with, this AI, and how he kind of mismanaged the Firestorm thing.
Right. Well, first of all, the unique weapon, one of the criticisms, the reason I only came up with 5, one of my criticisms of this actually now the original story and the sequel is we had a lot of disparate ideas that we put out that we didn't do as well meshing them all. And I was feeling like that unique weapon, the Operation Firestorm kind of fail-safe thing, that we never really found its place in the story until I got to the sad ending, and then I realized that quartet member but one of the things I was Seth's unique artifact, the nuclear football, kind of this daisy chain mechanism to activate the doomsday scenario.
Yeah.
It was a way to avoid the really sad ending,
I was trying to set you up there, Reed.
I know. But I did feel a little bit inspired, and I was pretty happy about that. I don't know. Do you see what I'm saying? The criticism that I'm getting at is like, I feel like we had a lot of great stuff that we never quite incorporated. In other stories, we've incorporated the disparate story elements.
Yeah, we never really touched on the magic system, the unique pet.
Yep.
The Pantheon,
right.
In the carryover, I would say, which kind of brings me into my scoring of it, which I'm putting at a 3, maybe.
Uh-huh.
I know that sounds horrible, but kind of like what Reed was saying, along the same veins, there was, I do like the way that the ending, I think it kind of comes together in the same way that if this was like a trilogy or something like that.
Yeah.
Where each end, I don't know, you guys familiar with the series of unfortunate events?
Oh, I've just heard the title. I don't know.
Where it's like, it's kind of exciting. It's these kids, their parents die, but like, their like distant uncle is like trying to murder them or like take their fortune or something. And so it's like, it kind of goes along. They're figuring out this kind of intrigue. They're kind of getting somewhere, but then it always is just a series of unfortunate events. And it's been a while. I can't remember how it ends. I don't know if it ends on a good note or not, but that's kind of the idea, is that it's like, it just kind of like, as it seems like it's getting somewhere, and then it just like rolls over, like once again, they're, being thrown into, another horrible situation, So I kind of like that with this, where it's, it's kind of building up, like the last one, was building up. This is the kind of world you're getting used to how it is. And then it like completely changes. Right. And it's like, maybe for the better, but maybe for the worse, but kind of leaves that cliffhanger of, oh, now, where is this going? So I think I like that aspect of it, is where this one, it makes a completely different environment, a completely different scenario idea, and is going along with that. And then kind of flips on its head at the very end, which I think would be an interesting segue for, it being a series of things where you could really just kind of bring it into a different genre each time you roll it over, right? But by doing so in kind of this could end up okay, it might end up bad, but obviously if there's going to be another one, it's setting up for the tension of the next thing, but bringing it about in a different genre. So I really like that. I think that's great. But again, like Reed was saying, there was just a lot of the elements that just went, kind of untouched on. For as much as like in the last one carrying over to this one, like the fighting style didn't go much anywhere. The pantheon, the magic system of this last one. I guess my other sharper criticism, I don't know. Our hero in this one, like I don't recall much of like anything that he really would have done. Like I think we kind of missed over a point of what made him the hero.
Yeah, expand on that thought. I think I know where you're going, but expand on that a little bit.
So he's got like this AI augmented thing, and then that thing kind of took over and brought about the ending with the firestorm. But I also think if you think back, it was a little bit incongruent with the last one ending with all those nano things being used up in the previous one.
That's true, I suppose.
And so I would say there was, with the way that this one went, there was a bit of an incongruency there. As far as there being any new or workable nano stuff that would have been.
There's a couple of interesting. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Continue, Seth.
Yeah. So like that part, it just like that part of it just kind of seemed a bit empty. There was a setup with like the hero and his two brothers as the villain and the hero and our anti-hero, but I can't recall that we brought them about to do much of anything in those roles.
Right. There was a lot. Oh,
yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's kind of the main thing why I would give it kind of a lower setting, unless that was.
There's a lot of single pieces that I really liked that were inspired from a lot of different movies and TV shows and books that I've read. So the reason why my score, I guess, was so high, and I don't downplay your points, you or Reed's points, Seth, at all. But the reason my score was so high is there was so many little vignettes in the story, right? Like I close my eyes and I think about looking at a city from up on a mountain and it looks like a circuit board.
Yeah.
Right. And then you wake up and you're inside the circuit board, right? This feeling of just kind of total loss of control, right? Total loss of ability to affect the world. I just think about my inspirations, Snow Crash being one of them, Cyberpunk being another one of them. There's this other TV show that's based on a book that I can't remember the name of, but in it there features like a virus that affects AIs, and that's kind of one of the things I was thinking about when we were talking about with Firestorm, is that it basically jumped the barrier between the nanobots and the actual infrastructure.
Yes.
Because there were still some nanobots left over, and maybe they were slowly being built up. But the real danger was the fact that they were jumping the network, and that as the Outworlders were trying to flee, their ships were being sort of disassembled. There's just so many, maybe it would have made a better TV show than a movie, because there's like a bunch of interpersonal things, and there's a lot of really cool cinematic shots that I like. And I will admit that there are often times when I think about our stories, I think about the scenes, especially the beginning scene, more as a movie and less as a book, and that's just a case of having an imagination as vivid as mine. If only you guys had an imagination as vivid as mine, then you would do the same thing.
However, will we do that? No, and I'm not trying to discredit that. I'm just saying from the flow of the story for what was kind of presented.
Right.
Right. Now, one thing that I did like, I know I gave it a low score, but one thing that I found absolutely hilarious, and I actually had to keep my mouth shut several times because I didn't want to give anything away and just wanted to see where you guys took it. Because I know you kind of know what it is, but not specifically. Gintama. So I did pull, so where I brought the history, I think I had in the beginning of this, or how to set it up with how the ships show up in the last one before this.
Yeah,
And
you
set
had
it up.
sequel, yeah.
I drew my my inspiration of how that would look from how that show is, with that concept. The funny thing is that so many little things that you guys brought up like come right out of that show, like the secret police that are like the human police, but they work for the outworlders, and so they're kind
Yeah.
of look like traitors. And then you've got like the terrorist cells, and you've got the that dog read. You nearly hit it directly. There's a dog in that show that is like super powered, right? And it's huge. It's not black, it's white, but it is kind of that like Newfoundland kind of like size and fluffy thing. I mean, except it's even bigger. But like, it was just so funny that you guys not being familiar with the show and a race of the aliens in that show were exactly what you described, with the people that, you know, had the denser bones and were stronger and like all of that.
That's crazy.
Like that was, it was just so crazy. I was sitting on the other side of here just like giggling and trying not to say, you're like, oh, what should the dog be named? And I'm like, trying to hold my tongue and not say the name of the dog from the show. But I found it really funny. Yeah, so many little things like that.
So this
came right from it. So it's like,
this was like a movie or a TV series, or
it's a Japanese anime that I watched years ago. So from this perspective, I'm not like telling everybody that's listening like jump out and go watch it, because
I'm curious though. I do want to go and see it.
I remember finding a lot of the stuff being really funny. It was like really nonchalant, and then it would just turn like and have like a really serious like arc with a lot of different, you know, backstory with how this stuff was happening. And it was kind of a euphemism of the opening of Japan to the rest of the world, except, you know, in this case it was aliens, you know, and they kind of took over the government and, you know, kind of, you know, told feudal Japan to get in line with the future and, you know, all this other stuff, and outlawed the samurai and all this stuff. But it was a lot of different hijinks and just
that's fun
stuff. But it's I personally think it's a great show, at least from the perspective that I'm remembering it. I don't think that it's for anyone listening, obviously, I don't think that it would be, I'd say it's at least rated a PG-13. I'll put it that way.
Gotcha.
So,
don't have your children watch it because the dog looks cute, is what you're saying.
Yeah, pretty much.
I have to definitely figure out some way to not, because I realize there's a lot of these little tiny inspirations from books and TV shows and movies and video games I've played. And there's like these little tiny, like, do you guys remember during these episodes, I kept talking about how like futuristic but yet still slummy it was?
Yeah.
It's like a specific feeling you get when you're playing Cyberpunk 2077 and there's like futuristic cars and like really powerful things. And then you kind of go and you look into an alley and it's just like dirty and there's like a person kind of like huddled under a stoop, you know. It's like this I was trying to capture an idea, and I feel like I did a decent job, but I never, maybe we just need to write these stories out more, because it never feels like it's even close to good enough. You know what I mean? It's like this picture right here, Reed. Oh, never mind, that's not a picture. So I'm just Googling
all of you
pictures.
At home, hear really closely what this picture sounds like.
Futuristic weapons shop here, and there's like guns and like giant bullets, and there's people with, and then over here there's like this is like a pile of garbage bags.
Yeah,
it's like future garbage bags.
Yeah, like,
you know,
New York with a garbage strike, right? Yeah.
That just makes me think of Seoul,
Korea.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes me think of Beijing as well, and that. I just need to find a better way to describe it that explains it in a way. It's like slums. Here's like slums and then like high rises, you know. I definitely need to find a way to take these kind of disparate ideas, because there's also things like Snow Crash, which also deals with a strange virus that can be transmitted through the computers, weird corporatism policies that kind of set the stage for how people interact with each other, general dissatisfaction with higher power, as in governments and corporations and things. I wish there was some way that I could take all of these things and explain them really succinctly, because you guys don't understand what I mean when I say a cyberpunk-like world. Or
We haven't
Judge
been to
Dredd.
space. We wouldn't understand.
No, but you understand what I mean. It's the same thing if Reed tries to explain, it's a kind of a Tom Clancy kind of story.
Well,
know?
Yeah, and if you weren't reading his novels in the 80s before you were born.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, right.
So that's why part of me thinks maybe we should start creating our own we should get our short-term memory back, which is what I'm thinking of I need to be doing. To create our own shorthand for certain settings, right? And then do some work and maybe create kind of like not a vision board, but kind of like a vision board, right? Mm-hmm. That we can share with people. And so when Reed has setting next time, he can say, the setting is, I'm calling it, when I say the setting is cyberpunk, I have all these pictures and all of these descriptions that I can share with all of you, and you can look at and be like, okay, this is what he means when he says this.
Yeah.
Because what I don't want to do is, while I have a lot of appreciation for Cyberpunk 2077 and Judge Dredd and Blade Runner and
Blade
New York
Runner.
City and stuff like that, when I have or Coruscant, when I have a bunch of appreciation for all of these things, I don't want to say, it's like Blade Runner.
What now Blade Runner, isn't that the one they just recently did like Blade Runner kind of overlapped? It was this futuristic thing, and then the timetable that it was supposed to be in came and went, and then they did another Blade Runner.
Yeah, in 2049 or something.
Yeah, but remember the picture, like it was always raining in LA, and it was that dirty sort of.
That is quintessentially. So if you've seen Blade Runner,
right?
That is quintessentially cyberpunk, right? Slums with ultra technology, like flying cars and stuff.
Right.
If you've seen like RoboCop gets close to that, Judge Dredd with Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah.
Gets close to it. It's this reality that technology is going to move forward, but it's not going to eliminate kind of like slums. And that was the kind of the essence of what I was trying to get at with these Outworlders who came and brought a bunch of high technology, but didn't exactly worry about infrastructure, right? It makes me think of Beijing, where it's a huge city. It's hugely technologically advanced in some parts, but you typically can't flush toilet paper down the toilet because the sewer infrastructure just can't handle it. And so it's a huge modern city, but this glaring thing is a problem.
It's just you can't quite get out of that. We're a third world and we're just shabby.
Well, but I guess you could say we're a third world, but it's like Beijing grew too fast.
Yeah.
Right? And you could make arguments against the government of China or whatever, but part of the essence of it is that it grew too fast and they didn't take the time to put down the infrastructure that was needed. And that's kind of the idea of what I was trying to get to with this city, is that it's so technologically advanced in some ways because of these Outworlders, but in other ways it's just kind of desperately not.
Yeah.
It's like the idea you've got a full panel computer and you can access all this information and there's flying cars, but you still have to bring water up from the well.
Yeah.
But the thing I was trying to say with all of this is that I want to find some way to not, because all of these movies and TV shows and books are all inspirations, but I don't want to say it's like Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah.
I want to be able to explain it as a standalone thing where you can see the kind of flavors of where my inspiration. I think that's one of the reasons, Seth, why you rated this so lowly, is because
I'm an uncultured swine. That's why. I'm so sorry.
No, it's because I didn't put forth the effort to create a cohesive world. I borrowed a bunch of elements from different stories that I really liked and just kind of smashed them together on top of us all having story elements and trying to smash them together, right? What I'm saying is that my world building was kind of shoddy on this one. You know, I had a lot of good ideas, but it was kind of shoddy in the way I put it together. And so I only give it an 8 because it contained so many parts of stories that I really like, but not, 8 world building, 3 storytelling. How's that? That's what I'm thinking.
I'll move it up to a 4 with the
Just
idea
out of
that it
respect
probably
for
just
me.
need cleaned up.
Yeah.
Like we've brought this up before, but oftentimes I feel like I had no idea. If you'd have told me, well, my story element is the quartet members. If I hadn't read Stephen King's
Dark Tower series,
I would have no idea what that means. The idea of Ka, yes, I've heard that kind of a synonym for fate, but not exactly. And then like fate or those whatever forces are behind the scenes making the world unfold brings these, in some cases, we've used 3 as the most common.
Right.
But a group of disparate characters together to kind of that are brought together by circumstances and whatnot to work together. Sometimes with a great deal of fiction between them, and when I draw that, I think back at times when I've drawn that story element and I have 3 distinct people, but you did this thing that was so interesting to me. And my favorite part of my favorite story element was I think it was the second time when you introduced the quartet? Which episode?
Yes, it was the second one. Yeah.
Yeah. Where you had the Chase Allen person, who was the dreamer from the beginning scene, which was really a nice tie together. And then bringing back Teach. Kind of reformatted through the use of these shared genetic markers to bring a kind of a character that was an amalgam of ancient ancestors, so to speak. And then in order to manage how all that was going to work together, coordinating with the nanobots was the AI, which became a personality of its own, so to speak.
Right.
And I really liked that I didn't think we got fleshed out well enough. But then when I was trying to figure out where to go with the sad ending, I realized
one of my favorite option.
Yeah, no, I couldn't, because it was the doomsday scenario, right? But the unique weapon, the Operation Firestorm, that was another one that was brilliant, but we hadn't really fully incorporated. And I was really, really happy when that buff had that flash. And, I really liked that too. And, I'm kind of patting my own back, but.
Yeah, no, I thought that was, the call back to that was, I had goosebumps.
Yeah, because it lands exactly what is this thing to be human? You have these off-worlders that were changed by things, and they're trying to interact and get along, and
right.
And what are the forces of you see, for example, we have now like 3 generations of immigrants from Laos, the Hmong people here in the Twin Cities area, where you have average height is increasing by about 3 or 4 inches per generation, where an adult male would be, 5'4", and then the next generation they're 5'8", and now we have some 6-footers,
Right.
And it has to do with probably a higher proportion of protein and fat in the diet when they're little, or whatever, whatever are the causes for those kinds of things. But that idea, these off-worlders are in these other places now, and they have these elements that change them,
right.
But yet, what is that essential thing that is human? created in the image of God, if you will. And the AI, as fabulous as it is, can never quite slip into that slot. And so the result, when he said, I know I can, this, Operation Firestorm, the whole realm of unintended consequences is magnified when you don't have that connection that is spiritual in nature, I guess, is what I was getting at.
Right.
That's what was behind that thing for me. Anyway.
That's cool. I was also thinking as a way to address the fact that I still feel like sometimes our stories are unformed or malformed. I think I'm going to start working on like a Google Doc, like a form, because Reed writes down everything as people are saying their story elements. But I think it'd be a good idea to write it down and basically create a form. It's like a story needs this, 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 and this. And so we fill it in as we go so that we can really find a beginning, middle, and end. We did that for a while. What's the beginning? What's the middle? And what's the end? And, oftentimes as a discovery writer myself, you don't really know what the middle is. You know what the end is. You have an inkling about the idea of the beginning, or you know what the middle is, but you have no idea how it begins, But maybe by forcing ourselves into a little bit of structure on one side, we can allow our free-form ideas to kind of flow on the other side, and we can still come out of it with like a cohesive, because we could say, that was a great story, but did we really make a story, or did we just come up with a bunch of ideas? Did we actually create a compelling narrative, or even participate in what could be considered a compelling narrative, or did we just create a bunch of micro interactions with some cool ideas on top? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe it would be worth making like a Google form or something that we can use to kind of fill in with our crazy ideas once we have them cemented in. So at the end of a series, we have an actual, this is the plot. This is how this is where they got to. This is the end. I think that would help us be more satisfied, or help me anyways be more satisfied with the story that we end up with, instead of feeling like that was some good ideas. We've been making ideas now for 6 years, and I've written a short story, but like I don't, I'm in one hand I could be happy just creating ideas forever, but on the other hand, I believe that stories are important, and that they teach us things, and that they have conclusions, and that they're, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's one of the things I'm going to be working towards, is a way to take all of our awesome ramblings and all of my crazy, weird atmospheric ideas and put them into some kind of organization. We'll keep, you can't see my hands, but like we'll keep them out on the mat, on the play mat when we're forming them. But then when we feel like they're good and formed, we can put them up into the kiln to be hardened and to dry into the form that we've made them into,
Okay.
And there are stories, so we can, if we decide that we didn't like that beginning, we can erase it and put in a new one.
Have either of you read any Faulkner? American novelist.
I feel like I have, yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds familiar.
Summer of 78, I lived in the spring of 70 through the spring of 79. I lived in Oxford, Mississippi, and I toured the Faulkner house. And it was where this guy, it was his house, and it was this, a cedar-lined drive that made a circle, like a carriage circle around in front of this big antebellum mansion in Oxford,
Right.
Mississippi, with the pillars and the columns and a giant magnolia tree in the middle of the circle, the drive-around circle, and then the little road going around back to the carriage house where the horses would be tended and whatnot, and you go in, and it's this beautiful William Faulkner, this big. And they showed the room where he worked, and it was a bare room, and it had some different angles and stuff because it was up high, so you didn't have a flat roof, you had a flat ceiling, and it was a bare hardwood floor and bare whitewashed walls and like a kitchen chair sitting in the middle. And all around in charcoal in big letters so he could read it easily from the middle of the room, he had all these plot points and character development outlines all around so that he had these, he could sit there and look at all that he had created,
Right.
and then figure out what is the connective tissue that will hold this story together and hold all these disparate elements together. And it was such a fascinating look into a mind of someone who, Faulkner's a big one that, like, you take a course on American literature and it's, right up there that you'll be assigned to read some Faulkner because it's really interesting and unique. And anyway, that's what I was thinking about when you were talking about this this Google Sheets storyboard sort of idea. But it's the word that comes to my mind is connective tissue. Like how is this connected to the story we're telling? And
Right.
And I feel like I miss filling that in sometimes.
Right. It's really interesting because my brain just lit on this idea. I focused this time mostly on the set and not on the characters,
Yep.
And it's like, you can have a beautiful set, but if your acting is terrible, if your characters aren't communicating something that's true or good, what are you doing? You got a pretty set, but bad acting and bad writing. You got Star Wars Episode 1, Phantom Menace,
Yeah.
Except for the fight between Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, and Darth Maul. That was obviously gold. But I think I learned a lot from this episode. Thanks, guys, for being honest about it.
Thank you guys for doing this, letting me do this with you all this time. This has become a kind of really a fun escapade.
Seth,
Doesn't seem like 6 years.
No, it does not. I was just looking back at old episodes, and I was like, wait a second. Oh my goodness. I'm just looking back at them now. 5/28/2019 at 11:28 p.m. is when I exported 001 Wait It Gets Better Retro Space Force.
That's good.
11 o'clock at night. Woof. I was burning the midnight oil at that point in time. But we are going to try some new things. We're going to try some new ways of letting you guys know what's going on and some new ways of telling you guys what's coming up next. And part of that is going to be telling you guys what it is that we drew for next week.
Oh, cool.
On the air. So I've got the spreadsheet out here, and I've drawn your guys' story elements. And this, if you have an idea, if you hear these story elements and you have an idea for read, let us know. Send us a message. Send us an email at waititgetsbettercast@gmail.com or message us on Twitter at @getsbettercast. We'd be happy to take your questions, take your suggestions, and hear your ideas. So Levi has economic system as my first of next series for next week. Reed has, sequel. So we're doing another sequel. So we're our first ever trilogy, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be great. I'm excited to see what's going to happen. And then Seth has Pantheon. Pantheon has showed up in like almost every single one of these, hasn't it?
I think so.
Oh,
I think it's a topic that...
It showed up in the first one, and it kind of showed up in the magic system of the second one, which we didn't really touch on at all.
Yeah.
But I'll be excited to see where this happens. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell your moms, tell your dads. And don't forget to wait, because it gets better.